Taylor Swift is coming with a new album and it's
To BTS 12, The Life of a Showgirl. There are 12 tracks. She announced it officially on August 12 a.m. And immediately there were a lot of theories about what the track list would look like, what this would look like. But today, after the New Heights podcast, we have a lot of clarity on what it actually is going to be. Let's start with the date. The date is 3/10, October 3rd. That's 13. Also, fun fact, it's 2 days before Travis Kelsey's birthday. Besides this, we've got a track list. Let's start with the Sabrina Carpenter feature. I think everyone was expecting that after Taylor Nation put her in this photo in the carousel, which was our first official Easter egg. But the title itself, The Life of a Showgirl, we now know from Taylor that she literally means this is the behind the scenes look of what it was like to be on the world's biggest tour in Europe, living the best time of her life, the peak of her career. And that's exactly what the cover also says, right? Sure, we could make allusions to the first song on the album, which is The Fate of Ophelia. And there's this very famous Ophelia painting, which people also saw being referenced in White Lotus. But the truth is that she herself said this is her in her head um, at the end of the day, at the end of a show, when she just has to lie in a hot tub and relax, glitter still covered in confetti, just trying to unwind. For those who haven't read Hamlet, Ophelia is Hamlet's love interest, right? She dies of drowning, and that's what the famous painting is. But it is what leads her to that drowning is this madness that she gets engulfed by. So, the whole thing about Ophelia's character is that she was constantly defined by the men in her life, whether it is her father, her brother who eventually gets killed, or whether it's Hamlet himself, right? Being Hamlet's love interest is how she gets defined. It's also how I define her. But maybe there's going to be, knowing what we know of the album, of her saying that this is an effervescent, happy, super banger album, maybe this is going to be a twist on what Ophelia's fate could be or what it should be. Moving on to the next one, which is Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor, for those of you who don't know, was a really famous yesteryear's Hollywood actress. She's also referred to Elizabeth Taylor by one of her most famous relationships in Ready for It, where she says, "You could be my jailer, Burton to this tailor," by referring to Richard Burton, one of her husbands. Elizabeth Taylor was, however, always vilified for having all these husbands. She was always looked at from this complex of like, oh, you're like, you can't keep a husband. Themes that Taylor has alluded to before. She loves talking about how people view her fame, people view her relationships, but don't always see her as a whole person. And next, this one's probably my uh, one of my favorites because I love a good gemstone, opalite. Opalite is also often confused for or referred to as moonstone. And as we know in one of her previous lyrics, she said, "Some guy said my aura is moonstone." As we know that one of the things Taylor loves doing is being self referential. She has over 200 songs, so there's a lot to reference. So as soon as I heard Opalite, I went and looked it up. And so it happens to be the October birthstone, which means it's also Travis's birthstone, technically. So that may be something to talk about. It symbolizes clear thinking, new beginnings, childlike dream, all of the things she had been feeling during the Eras tour. But with the Eras tour, she felt for the first time that, okay, I've built this. I've built this fandom, I've built all this love and affection and goodwill over the years. And the Eras tour and the fan reactions to it happen to be how she gets to see that world. There's, I mean, Father Figure. The song by George Michael of the same title went viral last year after um, Baby Girl released. And I don't know if there's going to be any sampling happening here. Maybe the only time I remember her sampling is Look What You Made Me Do. Um, so is there going to be a sample here? Who knows? But I do remember her excitement in 2020 when she was called Daddy. So you know what? Maybe this is her just having her daddy moment. And I'm going to say yes. Next is Eldest Daughter. TayLore is an elder daughter. So Eldest Daughter is Nation Rise. Yes, yes, we get it. You guys have all the burden. She will be talking about the burdens of being an eldest daughter, or is she going to be talking about how her family builds the eldest daughter, how being in her particular family setting builds her as this eldest daughter, and what that sense of perfectionism has done to her career. And I want to hear that, especially as a fan of Lord and Hayley Williams, both of whom made songs about being an elder daughter. This is going to be really, really fun for me. Also, I'm an only child. I can't relate to these struggles, but I have a lot of eldest daughter friends who are going to love this. Also, keep in mind, eldest daughter is track five. And for those who don't know, but the Swifties know, track five is always a deep cut. Deep cut pop banger, literally my favorite genre of music. Ruin the friendship. So, I mean, usually we have like track five, and immediately track six would be like a, you know, huge like emotional shift. So I'm guessing this is going to just like be that. But what do you mean ruin the friendship? Actually romantic. I mean, one of the biggest themes of that phase of her life, which is the era store, was also coinciding with her being in like a long-term relationship that actually um, looked like something she was comfortable in. So to say what is actually romantic, I want to hear that. I want to hear that from her perspective, what romance looks like to her now, after years of writing about romance, after years of um, being in overtly publicized relationships. What does actual romance look like for her? We have wish list with the S's being in dollar signs. This could be like a blank space. Look what you made me do. Sort of tongue-in-cheek thing where everyone thinks she's this like billionaire materialistic, I want everything kind of person, and she never discounts that. But I want to hear that. But if she's taking us behind the scenes of what that wish list looks like, is it going to be like the themes of The Man, where we talk about running a business, or is it going to be just satire like blank space? Next is Word. I mean, there was this very famous tweet uh, where someone was making fun of her lyricism, which I find hilarious as an Ariana Grande fan as well. Uh, is it about being in the woods? Is it about her making fun of this tweet? I don't know. I don't know. There are things that I don't know. Next is probably my favorite title on the album, which was just cancelled! Exclamation mark. As someone who's been cancelled over and over again, what does cancelled mean at this point to Taylor Swift? What does it mean to be have to revive yourself constantly? She says that she never reads articles about herself or reads theories about herself. She is now a very offline person. But what does cancellation do to your brain? Honey, okay. This is the penultimate track and the last track that we're going to be talking about today. Either it's how people sweet talk her or flatter her because she's Taylor Swift, or it could just be a really sweet romantic song. Who knows? Who knows?
I'm still new to recording anything long form without anyone else's help, so I have fully forgotten how to record an outro. But I can't wait to hear the album and subscribe, like, share, sub karo.